Mr. Daniel Smith.
What is going on out there, New York Jets and Jets Guru fans? Welcome to yet another episode of Jets Guru. Appreciate all your support. Appreciate the support of JR, the producer, puts together all the fancy stuff, all the music, all the graphics that you see each and every Thursday. So really appreciate the support there. Me and Kevin reunited once again. We're going to have to keep it kind of quick. Got to end at 9, but me and Kevin can literally talk for hours on end about Jets football back and forth. And so, let's get started. I mean, when you look at this and you look at the Jets Texans recap, I mean, you got to be excited when the Jets get a win and they still either improve or keep their draft position with the pick because Seattle wound up losing. And so right now, as we say right now, the Jets have the 4th and 5th pick in the draft. That's not usually a good thing when you're picking that high. And I know a lot of Jet fans had expectations on how the season was going to be and, expected to pick in a different spot. But I think when we all just relax a little bit and realize what's going on here, like we say every week, this is a build. This is the first rebuild for many of you. Even some of you old timers haven't experienced something like this, especially how green it is. Like, teams rebuild, but the Jets really rebuilt. A lot of young guys just all over the place. And so you're going to have the ups and downs. And you saw that this week. Last week in the game, the first half, it was just absolutely dreadful offensively for Zach. It was just really, really bad. The one thing I did like about Zach is that it seems like in the second half of games, he picks it up. And it's not just him, it's the play calling. Again, rookie play caller those are good signs, though, because we came from a coach where there was absolutely no adjustment. It was what you saw after the first drive. The Jets usually last year came out of the first drive looking good. And then after that, it was just, disaster all the way through. At least with this grouping, you're seeing that they adjust well to what teams are doing to them. And they come up with a little bit of a different game plan. And they actually come out and play a little bit harder in the second half. And, as a young team, playing complete football games is something that comes with time. It comes with stability. I think that's what you're seeing with the Patriots, with Mac Jones, is, you're not asking your young guy to do too much. You run the football, quick passes, that keep the lanes clear, and then built off of a defensive plan and systems that have been there for 10 plus years. And you could do things like what the Patriots are doing. And so, the comparisons between the Jets and the Patriots, I just think aren't fair. It's just a different organization, different coaching staff and scheme. And again, just so much experience on that side of the ball that it's just, it's hard to really compare what the Jets are doing. It's really just a completely different scenario. And the Patriots weren't rebuilding. They spent a lot of money in the offseason where they felt like, hey, we could squeeze out what we need here. And Mac Jones gives them a safe, comfortable option. We already knew that, Mac Jones was one of those guys who was going to be more ready than a lot of the younger quarterbacks from the program that he came from. But the ceiling, if we're talking about the ceiling, Zach Wilson, guys like Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence have a much, much higher ceiling than someone like Mac Jones. And there could be a bit of catch up here. It's one of those things where you're playing for an established staff, you're playing with an experienced staff, and they're not asking you to do too much. And then, when they ask you to do those things that we know that Zach Wilson and guys like Trevor Lawrence can do, or what you might need to push you over the hump in a playoff game, those types of things, he may not have that. So the book is out on all these young quarterbacks, including Mac Jones, regardless of the start, because I want to see the kid be able to go and win the Patriots a game, not just be a passenger on the ride of consistency and Hall of Fame coaching and scheme. And, when you look at Zach's footwork, it's something that it's a little bit concerning for sure, because listen, he does have that kind of Patrick Mahomes kind of style of quarterback. He has arm talent for days. We know this. But like Saleh, Robert Saleh, likes to say, he likes to see his quarterbacks that, they see with their feet. You have good footwork, your eyes and your feet follow your eyes follow your feet, and it's one of those things where when you clean up your footwork and you have good mechanics with that, a lot of times you're guiding your body into the position and the throws that you need them to do, instead of just relying on your arm talent alone when you're falling to the side, when you're leaning back, when you're doing throws on the run, these types of different things. And so, this is something that they're going to have to clean up in the offseason. I don't think this is going to be fixed within the next few weeks of the season. I think this is something that they're going to have to clean up, get a quarterback's coach in there, work with him on his footwork. But the one thing that you cannot teach in this league is the ability to throw the ball down the field like he can. And I think in the second half, you saw some really nice drives they were able to put together, some nice throws by Zach, finding Elijah and different things like that. It's one of those gritty performances, and I think, Kevin, when you talk about his performance, I think you can't discount the fact that he was out for a month, and, he comes in and it's the Houston Texans and all this kind of stuff. But this is a guy that's inexperienced as it is, misses a month, coming back off of a knee injury, which you could see clearly, whether it's the brace and the combination. I think you could see that he wasn't 100%, even in that game. And but as you say, we can go out there. There's guys that had awful performances last week. There's rookies that are having awful performances this year. We spoke about Trevor Lawrence, 7 interceptions in the last 3 games, but he isn't playing in New York media. And so obviously the shine is going to be on Zach Wilson. You also have a guy on the other side, the NFC, and Daniel Jones, who's in his 3rd year playing quarterback. And I feel like he doesn't even get as much scrutiny as Zach Wilson does in his 3rd year, where the Giants have to make a big decision on what they want to do with quarterback here coming up. And Zach is like 7 starts into his first year as a rookie, and it feels like people are treating him like a 3rd-year starter. So did he play well last week? No. Did he get you a touchdown to help win you the game? Absolutely. On a not 100% knee, gritty play, had to make that cut, turn in, and force his way into the end zone. I mean, hey, he did what he had to do to win the game. The defense lifted him up. This is no different than what we've seen from a lot of young quarterbacks. Running game, defense lifts a rookie quarterback. This is not a line that has never been said before. What was your evaluation of his performance, Kevin?
So we saw a lot of the same from Zach Wilson, which was slow starts. The good thing is we didn't have a scoreless first quarter. For Jets fans that didn't notice, the Jets literally scored points in every single quarter of the game. But the first quarter points, a big part of that was the interception. So you can't pretend that it's not, right? Franklin Myers, huge play, setting up the easy field goal. But what we saw is some of the things that you already highlighted. The footwork, I think he leaves the pocket a little early sometimes. He gets happy feet. And we see a lot of plays where he's running to his left or running to his right. And what we saw from White and Flacco with the same offensive line is them standing in the pocket, delivering it, taking the hit, and some of those things I'd like to see him get better at. The other thing that we saw from him was timing sometimes. His timing seemed a little off. LaFleur talked about it today. His timing looked like he missed a month of the season, and he's 22 years old. We just saw some passes that were, not quite in sync with where we'd want him to be, and that goes back to some of the feet things. Instead of just dropping back, setting, making the throw, he's got a little bit of happy feet right now. So the other thing I would say to Jets fans is before the season, if you ask me after 7 games of playing with Zach Wilson, have things to work on, the answer would be yes. And after 7 games in the NFL, does Zach Wilson have things to work on? Yes. So what didn't we see in this game? This was one of the top 5 teams in creating turnovers in the NFL. How many games have we watched Mark Sanchez? We've watched Geno Smith. We've watched Sam Darnold have one of these games where they throw 5 interceptions when nothing's going right because they start forcing a bunch of balls and they give us no chance to win because they don't have it going. And he didn't do that. And even the one interception he had was a miscommunication between him and the running back. And you can argue that, and I've seen it argued both ways on Facebook, but there's the still shot that people want to ignore that right before he stepped over the line of scrimmage, Ty Johnson was facing him. He let the ball go, and Ty Johnson had already made up his mind and didn't see and didn't consider that he'd throw a shovel pass. So when he let the ball go, there was nobody within 3 yards of Ty Johnson, and it was a good play. The problem was Ty Johnson wasn't on the page. It hits off his back and is picked off, and that's his one turnover in the game, his one road turnover. So manage a game. Don't lose games for us, and the defense show up. If you told me before the season started that we could play that brand of football, that's what I would have begged for. Exactly what's happening with Mac Jones. Don't lose the game. Defense control us and keep us in the game and do just enough to win. And do what? The biggest thing I saw and what I wished we had all year, and this is the one place I'll give the new right guard a lot of credit. We had 157 yards rushing in that game. Dude, any game you can give Zach Wilson 125, 150 yards rushing, his life is going to be so much easier. Dude, they don't count dropped interceptions. They don't count those. You don't think that Aaron Rodgers has dropped interceptions? Like, this is a football IQ statement where I need you guys to think a little bit. You think they haven't dropped Tom Brady interceptions? You think Josh Allen hasn't had interceptions dropped? Dude, they play defensive back instead of wide receiver because they drop interceptions. Stop it. These things, some of you guys have hidden agendas, okay? And I'm not pointing at one person. You wanted Justin Fields. You wanted Sam Darnold to be successful. We didn't draft Fields.
Right.
Have Sam Darnold. So don't root against Zach Wilson and make up stupid stats because you wanted Justin Fields. Jets fans, you need to get over the fact that Zach Wilson is your quarterback. Root for your damn quarterback. He had dropped interceptions. Is it your first time watching the NFL, guys? They drop interceptions every week. Our DBs drop interceptions every week. Ulbrich starts his conference off with 3. We had 3 dropped interceptions this week. We had 3 plays. If we played it correctly, we would have had to pick. Who cares? They don't count the picks you should have got. They count the picks you make. Same thing for the other team. Guys, stop it. Stop it. It's like, oh, we should have had 3 more sacks. There's no should have had stats in the box score. Go look it up and see if you can find it. Right? You know what we should have had? More made field goals. This should have been a blowout if our kicker could make a goddamn kick. It wouldn't have even been a close game. Wouldn't have even been close. And you guys are crying about victories. Dude, there's better things to cry in your beer about than the Jets winning. Stop it. What the hell? You want him to manage games and games, and he's managing games and not losing games, and you find a way to cry about it. He's doing what Mac Jones is doing and is all over ESPN right now. That's what he did. 145 yards passing, 1 pick. Like, that's a Mac Jones stat line. And he's getting, like, rookie of the year, like, votes. And, yes, he's hot right now. Can we let the guy play more than 7 games? Mac Jones has played more than 7 games. So relax, man. And if you don't like Wilson, there's other teams to root for. Gosh, our fan base this year is killing me. But what I will say is we obviously got a matchup this week. If we can run the ball and take pressure off Wilson and have him make just enough plays, the one thing I will say, and Salah pointed this out, is we were down 14-3. And there was a lot of Jets fans crying in the cereal when it was 14-3. I read your comments on social media, all foolish. Fire Salah, fire Joe Douglas. Zach Wilson's a bust. And Salah pointed this out right before the half. And this is what won the game. And you'll give Zach Wilson no credit. And that's fine because you have your own hidden agenda. That's fine. He did a 13-play drive and put 8 points on the board and cut 14-3 to 14-11. Got the ball at half and went down and tied the game up. So we took the game. We took the Texans, who had a 14-3 lead and thought they were in a good position, and we went back-to-back on them and then came back and won the game. Who's quarterback when we went back-to-back? Not Justin Fields, not Sam Darnold, not White. And the thing I'll give him credit for, and you can go back to the Berrios play when he set up the field goal, is that 46-yard play was exactly what he should have taken from those game films from watching Mike White, where he throws it 4 yards in a cloud of dust because that's all Mike White can throw, where he hits Berrios on a little play that's like 4 or 5 yards on a hook route by Berrios, and he takes it 46 yards because the other team's playing zone and they had their back to Berrios, and he just runs by them all because they don't even see him coming. So if you can say he took some things, hit some of those short plays, take the easy plays, does he do it consistently? No. But why you want to count the interceptions that he should have had intercepted, are you going to count the wide open tight end in the back of the end zone that he hit in the chest and dropped it and then we missed a field goal? Are you going to count that one? He threw it wide open, tight end. I don't even know why he slid on the ground to catch it, and it hits him in the chest and goes on the ground. Do you think that touchdown pass counts?
Right.
Just like the interceptions don't count, the touchdown pass that he threw perfectly that was dropped also does not count. There's no imaginary stats. So does he got to get better? Yes. Every rookie at every position has to get better, including Zach Wilson. But don't lose the game, and he didn't lose it, and we won. Now let's see what he does against the Eagle team that's hobbling into the home game that's black on black uniforms, and I can't wait to see it. Back to Mr. Guru.
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin, and excellent points. And when you look at Mac Jones's stats, right, and they're very deceiving, when you look at it, because they're not asking him to do too much with the football. Again, you look at some of the yards per pass attempt. I mean, it's just, he's letting his receivers work, letting his backs work. The offensive system is guiding him more than he's guiding the offensive system. I mean, you're talking about, I could go down the list of some of his games, 207 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 198 yards. Okay. He has 3 touchdowns on 198 yards. What is that telling you? That's telling you a lot of dump offs, a lot of screens, a lot of receivers and talents doing that thing. 139 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception against the Panthers. 217 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions against the Chargers. Okay. 229 against the Cowboys. Okay. 186 against the Jets, no touchdowns, no interceptions. 1 touchdown against the Dolphins. 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions against the Saints, even though he put up 270 yards. 1 touchdown, 1 interception against the Texans. Very Texans that the Jets played that are awful. Okay. So when we look at this, yes, his completion percentage is outstanding, right? But they're not asking him to do too much. They're not asking him to be, that special talent, which Zach Wilson is, and I just think that it's a completely different offense. They're asking him to do 2 different types of things. And like you said, when each quarterback is struggling, we know Mac Jones, as far as the professionalism, being asked, to do what he needs to do, the short range stuff, he's got that. But his deep passing still, it's suspect. And that's something that he's going to have to pick up, because defenses will eventually game plan against him. They'll give you the underneath and they'll stop everything up top. Now, yeah, they might win 10 games this year. And then they get to the playoffs in the first round. And then when the Patriots go down 14-0, 17-0, then when they need a guy to come, throw you back into the game, he's not going to be able to do it. And you're going to see that this year. And I believe you're going to see it most likely probably in the playoffs. And yeah, everyone's going to be on top of him, and this is great and that's great. But honestly, I've seen that before. I want to see a guy that can go out there and win you the game, win or bust, right? So obviously, Zach's accuracy needs to clean up. And I think that goes with the footwork. Again, like we talked about, I don't think it's the arm or anything like that. Obviously, he has the arm talent. Another thing that was spoken about Zach that I think is a good take that I heard is his touch on the football, where he just, he kind of throws everything hard, right? And I understand that. And again, that's something too where I think when you saw it in the last game, it's probably a little bit more of an antsy type of thing. I mean, again, the kid's been out for a month, and before that he was even struggling. And so I think you're going to see a more composed Zach Wilson in this game as far as that's concerned. And I think you're going to see a better second half from him. I really do. And like Kevin said, with all his great points, like I think you did see some things in that game that you could say as progress. Progress was there. And I think you're going to see more of it as time goes on. And again, I really, really give LaFleur credit, 34 rushes on the ground. These are the type of things you have to do. Even when things aren't working, you got to have to run the ball 34 or 35 times a game. And again, we have to bring up the point where, who cost us the game in the Dolphins? Kicker. Who could have potentially cost us the game against Houston? Kicker. not the quarterback. He is bad and as poor accuracy. You want to say Zach was in last week's game. If we would have lost that game, I truly don't believe it would have been on his shoulders. You got to go out there and make your kicks, man. When you talk about the Dolphins game, instead of them going down, remember the Jets were on the 17-yard line with Joe Flacco. The play calling changes considerably. Okay, when you're trying to go for 10 points as opposed to 3 or 7 or 6 or whatever it is, because you're missing your kicks. And so instead of the Jets going down there trying to either tie or win the game, they now have to do a quick field goal. Now they have to do an onside kick and try to get the ball back. And all that was done because 2 kicks were missed in that game. And so it's very, very important. Each and every year we talk about it here on Jets Guru. The Jets need to find a damn kicker. I hate kickers across the board. Kevin knows that. I don't care if it's the best kicker of all time. I think it's just a useless position in football. I think you should just go for it on 4th down or punt it. And I think in 2-point conversions, again, you just back them up on if you want to do the 2. If you just want the 1 extra point, they just line you up at the 10 or whatever. And that's how I think football should be played. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So knowing that field goal kickers are a huge part of this game, I think it would be imperative for the New York Jets to go out there and try to find a kicker. Because as you could see, last year, the year before, this year, kickers really make a big difference. And so you could see the difference between, how the Jets were kicking well. And then Jason Myers then goes, to Seattle. And then and how good he was at kicking. And then we get Vandervik and this guy and that guy and all these different people coming in to kick. And then this year we got Amendola, who has a strong leg. It's just, to me, he has more of a soccer leg. To me, the ball doesn't really go up. It kind of just, it's just like on a line, so he has the power. If I was Amendola, if you want to have a future in this league moving forward, you're really going to have to work in the offseason on your accuracy and your placement, because you kick in certain stadiums, you got to be prepared for that. And so, again, this is a rebuilding team. They go out there, they do what you want them to do. They run the ball well, 150 yards on the ground. They get you 4 sacks. Everyone was crying about Jonathan Franklin Myers, comes out there, gives you a great performance. Mr. Ronald Blair comes over, gets you sacked. And then, you get sacks from Quincy. And and then you look at Q Williams, right? Everybody's talking about Q Williams because he's not Mr. Aaron Donald there. And you look at Q, he's got the 3rd best win rate of all interior linemen. I mean, what more do you want this young man to do? He plays for the Jets. I mean, so maybe he doesn't get that much shine, but he's doing the little things that you're not seeing. Just because he doesn't have huge sack numbers doesn't mean he's not disrupting things. Doesn't mean that other teams have to, do things to chip him and add an extra guy and guard him and these different things that you just don't really pay attention to during the game. But his win rate, his success, each and every play, it's showing up. So be patient, especially during a rebuild. If you're going to give Adam Gase 2 years, if you're going to give Todd Bowles all those years, if you're going to give all these guys these years, give Robert Saleh those years. Right? At least this guy is honest in his commentary after the game. He really is. I mean, he gives you an honest answer. I like what he has to say. Give LaFleur a chance. You could see, over the last month or so, the Jets have been one of the best offenses in the league. And that's with their defense just being piss poor. So, I mean, there is things to look at moving forward. But it's green. The team's green. They got a lot to do. And you got 2 first-round picks. Okay? So 2 first-round picks. And, you got multiple mid-round picks. The Jets can get an edge rusher, a starting corner, starting linebacker. I mean, they could do a lot of different things from their draft spot. And I know Joe Douglas has been, another guy in the news, like because of the Jets losing. And he got it's just unbelievable what he's able to do. I mean, he trades for players, they get released, he signs them back. He's trading up and down the draft. I mean, he's getting you extra draft picks for a safety. I mean, it's just. I understand the frustration. I'm a Mets fan, okay? I'm a Knicks fan, okay? I understand the frustration of sports franchises, but this ain't the one. I'm telling you, this is not the one to get upset about quite yet, okay? Now, we go into next year, and we're looking for game 4 or 5, and Zach still can't hit the short passes. His footwork is sloppy. The defense is getting run over. Okay, then let's start changing the narrative. Let's start talking about what is going on, and could there be major changes by the end of the year. But everybody else in the entire world gets a pass on their first year, except for Zach Wilson. Everyone else is getting a pass. Justin Fields, I mean, Trey Lance played like 5 minutes? Justin Fields is hurt, in and out. He hasn't looked great. Trevor Lawrence hasn't looked great. I mean, Mac Jones has been the only one, but he's throwing 2-yard passes, going, 30 for 35. It's very, very frustrating to not have mental clarity when watching this team. And yes, AVT is playing big time, and you're seeing the growth. Another Joe Douglas pick. Y'all love Michael Carter, right? Joe Douglas pick. You guys are loving what Elijah Moore is doing, right? Joe Douglas pick. I mean, so you're looking at this, and honestly, you got to say that was an excellent draft last year. So as soon as you bring that up and you say the Jets had an excellent draft last year, what about 2020?
Yeah. And
I just don't understand what you're wanting.
Just a caveat on a couple points. So Quinnen Williams actually has the same amount of sacks as Aaron Donald. They each have 6. There's only 3 defensive tackles that have more sacks than Quinnen Williams, and it's Chris Jones for KC has 6.5. Hargrave for the Eagles, who you'll see this week, has 7. There's one more ahead of him was 7.5. So literally 6 to 7.5 is the range of the top 4 sack leaders, and one of them is Aaron Donald, and one of them is Quinnen Williams. So that whole argument of, well, but they only get them against this team or that team, they get them against the teams on their schedule, and Quinnen's been getting them all year. And Franklin Myers, the other thing that's driven me insane about what you said is that a lot of Jets fans got on Franklin Myers. Oh my God, he got the contract and then didn't do anything. Well, he got like 4 straight games with a sack before he got the contract. Or are we just going to pretend like that didn't happen? And then he has game. When was the last time? Right. Like literally, when do you remember a defensive player in any game? I don't care who it was against. I got 2 sacks and a pick in a game. Like any player at any position. Like I don't remember the last guy. And somebody throw it in the comments if you remember. But that's like Khalil Mack stuff. That's like elite of the elite. And I'm not saying he's Khalil Mack, but I'm saying him doing that at the NFL level against anybody is amazing. Amazing stuff. And I would even take it a step back. Joe Douglas took a lot of heat. And remember, the draft before, the Becton draft, was the one where it was him and Adam Gase working together on that draft class. Different offensive, different defensive philosophies. And you're starting to see some of the fruits from that draft class as well. I still think Becton can play, but if you want to put a TBD on him, that's totally fine. But now you got Huff playing. You got Guidry. How good was Guidry last week, right? Guidry at corner stepped up and played outstanding. How good was Bryce Hall? How good was that draft pick? And you need to keep – and you got Bryce Huff. You got Guidry in that draft. You got Hall in that draft. You got Becton coming back. And we still don't know about Ashton Davis. He has games where he plays well. He has games where he doesn't play well. And we got Braden Mann in that draft. So even that draft, that's kind of a wash because it's different systems, different whatever. The other thing about Joe Douglas, and I highlighted that a little bit this week, is he doesn't just stop with draft picks. What is he doing on the free agency wire? What is he doing with these little – how did we get Franklin Myers, right? We scooped him up off waivers. How did we get Quincy Williams? We scooped him up off waivers, right? He doesn't stop because – and now this new right guard that we have, he traded a tight end for the right guard. The tight end gets cut, and he re-signs the tight end. So we got the right guard for nothing. And then the Walter kid at running back this week. I mean, how good did that kid look that he just scooped up off waiver wires from San Francisco, and he looks better than P. Ryan has showed us at all. So it's like throw in some talent. See, how did we get Berrios? Waivers off Miami, right? Like we did a bunch of these little things that's like you keep supplementing talent, you keep adding some players, and then this Riley kid that we got at safety that he just scooped up too. We got a bunch of guys that he's like, if some of my draft picks don't work, I'm going to give some guys a tryout. Mike White, waivers, Dallas, who everybody loves so much, right? So he is looking under every rock. And if his draft pick doesn't hit, then he's got another guy to step in behind him, an undrafted free agent like a Bryce Huff, a waiver wire claim like a Quincy Williams. And he's like, look, Lawson goes down, Huff's coming back this week for this week's game, right? So, guys, I need you to be patient. I'm going to preach this on every show, every forum you can hear me, because we need more talent on this roster, period. We need more talent, which is why we have all these draft picks. And I won't be surprised if he trades one of the 2 high draft picks to go down a little bit. Think what Miami did with the Philadelphia, swapping out and picking up extra ones and all that stuff. Man, I see the Jets doing the same thing, maybe going from 6 to 12 and having an extra second-round pick next year and picking up another future one. So we keep having 2 first-round picks over and over and over again until all of a sudden we have 5 Pro Bowlers, because we don't have 5 Pro Bowlers right now. We might, but some of them are still too young to tell if they're Pro Bowlers or not. Like an AVT, like Bryce Hall, like Quincy Williams. So we're still building, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's all a credit to Joe and his evaluation of talent. It's been a long time since we've had someone like him to evaluate, talent on the waiver wire and the free agency. And that's not even counting some of the other guys over the last few years that he's brought in, that kind of saved the team there, Burgess Jr. and, guys like Neville Hewitt and like just unsung type of guys that just, came in and hustled for the team. And it's just, that is what gets me excited is that, again, I think a lot of those picks that were made in 2020, again, like you said, were scheme type of fits. But I think, what you're seeing here more with Saleh and LaFleur is that they're drafting the talented people. I mean, it's clear what he's putting together. It's just they're so young. It just takes a while. And again, when you've never called a game before, an offensive game fully, you don't have an offense until you actually run it and you find out what these players can do and can't do, what plays work, what plays don't with the personnel that you have. And I think that's why you've seen LaFleur in his play calling and his Jets offense play a lot better over the last few weeks, despite, and it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. The Jets are no longer, I think, a deficient offense overall as a team, and they're still really young. They're still really green. There's still a lot to, to build onto that. So I'm excited. And, I just think that fans is going a bit overboard in this season. But listen, going to the Jets-Eagles game, we got 10 minutes here. This is a winnable game for the Jets. I know we don't, do very well against the Eagles, but this is a winnable game with a quarterback that has been very up and down this year. When you look at Jalen Hurts, he started off the season very well, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, looking like he might be able to turn that corner. But since then, he's really struggled and passing the football. His yards per attempt, they went from 8.3, 8.4, 8.1 to, 6 yards and 4 yards a pass. You're talking about a quarterback who has leaned on his running ability a lot more than he probably should. This is a guy who's averaging 35, 40 yards rushing to now averaging 60 to 70 yards a game on the ground. And that tells me that he doesn't trust what he's seeing. There's a lot of injuries still, like the Eagles always are. He himself is kind of banged up a little bit. So you have 2 quarterbacks that are really struggling with placement, feeling comfortable back there on the line. And, so this isn't going to be just a game where I think the Jets get blown out. I think this would be another close game, another winnable game. And then when you look at this coming into the second half, let's say the Jets come out here and they're able to win this game or keep it even close. And you're talking about the Dolphins, Houston, Eagles. You're talking about 3 to 4 games coming out of the gate where the Jets, they look all right. You could see the progress. You could see them doing things that are a lot better. You got 2 wins against 2 quality teams. You have an offense that for a month stretch was the best in the league. Some of the players that you were really hoping to step up and shine this year, Franklin Myers with the new signing, Quinnen Williams, that they're playing well. I mean, you couldn't ask more out of the running back and the receiver position, I think, this year. There's growth there. There's opportunity there for them to build on into the next season with a host of new draft picks. And remember what Joe said. Joe said, hey, listen, we're going to build this team based on the draft, not bringing in free agencies. And I think if you look at what he's been doing, I'm very, very excited for this draft to see what they do. And it's just, again, like Kevin said, you could trade down and you got your quarterback. You have a dynamic receiver. You have your running back for the future. So if there's not a guy that's locked in that you think you need to waste that 4th and 5th pick on, you could definitely trade down, pick up multiple picks, fill this team out with guys that fit Saleh and LaFleur's scheme. And of course, there's going to be an immense amount of pressure on Joe Douglas next year, as it should be. I think next year, after next year's draft and free agency class, I think there should be expectations. I think the Jets need to win 6, 7, 8 games next year. And I don't want to put that on them like for nothing, but it has to happen. We can't keep having downward years, even though we see that there are good moments and good things happening with the team. So the Jets come out here, they win another game or two. Let's say 4 or 5 wins. You definitely got to get more than that the next year. So, I know you guys think I'm an apologist for Joe Douglas and Zach Wilson and everything, but it's not that. It's just the simple fact that everybody else gets an opportunity to go through a rookie season or a first season and put together their program. But for some reason, it gets passed with the Jets. And I just don't think it's fair. I think, you look at the Dolphins and where they were supposed to be. You go ahead and you look at a lot of teams across the league and where they're supposed to be, and they're not. And the Jets didn't have those expectations. The only expectations that were set were you, the fans, the ones that said the Jets are going to win 10, 11 games, coming off a 2-win season with a rookie coach, rookie offensive coordinator, youngest team in the league, starting the most rookies. You put those expectations on the team. I'm happy with what I've seen from the football team. I've seen a lot of individual performances from the Jets this year that gets me excited about the future. And I've been to a few games this year, and I was just impressed with what I saw from a lot. Like, did I like the Dolphins walking the Jets down in the 4th quarter to get those extra points, which ultimately sealed our fate? No, I didn't like that. But I could see the individual performances on the team that I could say, okay, well, when we fill out this defensive line a little bit better, when they fill out the linebacking position, when they get better corners, when they have maybe a piece or two on the offensive line, they adjust. I could see this team playing a lot better. And does it start with Zach Wilson? Absolutely. He's the franchise quarterback. But again, I think your reservations for the kid should be reserved more for next year than I would this year. And I guarantee you, and I'm putting this down right now, Zach Wilson's going to have a good game on Sunday. I really do truly believe that. I think this is a good team for him to play against. I think the Jets have another opportunity here on their defensive line to really get after Jalen Hurts. And again, if you can get after him, you have to contain him on the outside, or he can really do you in there, and he can easily go for 80 yards a game or something like that if you let him. But I really do think the Jets could put pressure on him. I'm not sure if Devonta Smith is playing in this game, which is a big target for him. And if he's missing, then that's a big time thing. But to me, Kevin, if I got to put a score on this game, honestly, I think these are 2 evenly matched teams right now. Where they're at. And if I have to put a score on it, I'm taking the Jets just like I did last week. I'm going Jets 24-17.
All right. So a couple things. And to address your initial points, I got bad news for you, Jets fans. I think you got Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh 3 more years. I think you're going to see they're going to give them a chance. They got 2 first-round picks coming up. I bet we have 2 first-round picks the very next year again. Because I'm predicting a trade down and more draft picks because that's a Joe Douglas style. And then these picks got to play. And if the picks don't turn out, then they're gone. And some of those picks are Zach Wilson. But you could have a stacked roster after 3 years, and if Zach Wilson doesn't work out, then you can flip the quarterback out like Baltimore kept doing, right? Baltimore kept stacking up the roster
Right.
and then saying, I only need a B+ quarterback, which I still think Lamar Jackson is. I won't get into that argument today, but Baltimore's like, I'm going to have so much talent. I'm just going to keep adding quarterbacks, top of the draft, bottom of the draft. I don't care where I get them, but my roster is going to be stacked. And that's what Joe Douglas is doing. So you can argue Zach Wilson all day, but he wants a stud roster. And that way, after 3 years, if we're just sitting at 8-8 and Zach Wilson's not the dude, because our roster can carry us to 8 wins, or 8-9 with the new season format. And that's what it is. I know we're running up on time, so a couple things I want to point out. The Eagles defense is actually all right. They're ranked number 11th in the NFL. What they're not good at is stopping the run. They're right in the middle of the pack of the NFL, 15th. So I'm going to beg Booth LaFleur. You had 157 yards rushing, and I'd go with the same 3 running backs. I'd go with the same 3 guys. And I go for another 150. I don't care if all 3 of them get 50 yards this time. I love the new kid. I like
Yep.
Coleman all of a sudden. It's funny. Ron Alexander and Simon and I were just arguing the other day that Coleman was washed up and, they need to get P. Ryan in because Coleman's washed up. Then he rips off that 20-yard run in, and I was like, throw that out the door, right? He's still got some juice in the tank, probably because he's been on IR so much. He's probably healthy now. But anyways, I think the Jets need to get 150 yards rushing again. The offensive line needs to show up, dictate the game. And Bryce Huff needs to come back and make this D-line even better. If they can get pressure on Hurts, we're going to make plays. Because one thing Mosley and Quincy can do is if you do a bunch of short dump-offs, they punish the guys making those plays. So I look for the Jets to win and actually win big. I'm looking at 31-17 this week. So super excited. Maybe I'm getting a little bit amped up, but I think this is a good matchup. For the Jets, one of those ones where fighters make fights. I think this is a team that's limping in, and they're not ready for what they're going to get from this D-line.
Right.
I think the D-line puts on a show, and the Eagles think we're going to get right against the Jets. D-line surprises them. JR, what's your prediction, Mr. I'm going to the game this week with a little
Yo, hey, you just took my prediction. That's what I said last night on your show. 31-17, baby.
You see, JR, you got to reserve. You got to hold those predictions for the guru,
I know, right? But, yeah, I believe it's going to be a game we don't expect, like I said last night, in a good way. The offense shows up, the defense stays solid, and we ball out and player of the game, and my prediction is going to be Elijah Moore.
Absolutely. And listen, I think when you look at this, you got to pin your ears back as a defense, just like you did against Houston. We talked about it and how the Jets defense seemed like they were playing on their heels, playing back a little bit the last few weeks. And I feel like they just really went after it last week. Well, do it this week too. I mean, again, Jalen Hurts is going to be looking to run the football when you pressure him. That is his fail-safe. I think he's been figured out now. Again, he's going more and more and more to it as the year is going on. And again, his completion percentage is going down because he's not staying in the pocket and giving himself time to let the plays develop. Again, injuries and everything go into it, but hey, it's part of the team. And you're seeing a regression from him. And if you could just put pressure on this guy, I think you can get a turnover or two from him, flip the field, get some good field position. And again, I hate to say this, guys, but when you have a young quarterback, you're going to have stalled out drives. Amendola's got to make his kicks this week. No missed kicks. Don't leave any points out there on the field because, again, and that's why it's just so important to have a kicker when you have a young quarterback, because you'll have a couple drives here and there where you're just going to man, it stalls out when misses a pass or a wide open guy, just doesn't work out. Well, let's set up for a 45, 50-yard field goal. Oh, well, we don't trust them. And you saw that last week where, the Jets benefited from it because it worked, but they had to go for some plays that they necessarily probably wouldn't have called if Amendola was able to kick the ball. And so this is his make or break week for this kid. If he could bounce back, have a good game, kick well, I think moving on into, Jacksonville and Miami and the Saints and all that, I think, we can actually get a couple wins here, man, and really change the hearts and minds of a lot of fans. Very, very winnable games coming up before we get to Buffalo and Tampa Bay. So listen, guys, we're going to be here. We're going to be here after the game where I go on my rants usually because I just get so frustrated with some of the fans. I love when the Jets win. It doesn't matter about draft position. Let the chips fall where they may. It is awful to watch your team lose. And when they come out and they win, it doesn't matter how they win. A win is a win. Go out there and scrap and get that W and let's cheer and let's be excited and let's rep our team like Kevin's saying. Let's stop the nonsense. Get behind your football team. These guys are so young. This isn't a fourth year project where we're like, what are we going to do now? We're in it. The rebuild just started, so buy in. What else do you got to lose? You're going to complain the rest of your life. And then when the Jets finally get good, be like, oh, I'm a Jets fan. No, this is where you're a Jet fan. When it's times like these where things are tough and you got to watch these tough games. But at the end of the day, listen, the Jets are going to get good, and I think they're on the track to doing so with the right company. It just takes time. All these teams that are young, go look at their records. It's like a total of 11-40 something when it's with the top 5 youngest teams, and it's probably even worse because Pittsburgh's been on a little slide since I originally said that stat. So give it time, and it'll all work itself out. This isn't you can't throw 30 years of Jets fandom on this group that just got here. So Appreciate the support, guys. As always, check out Live Rounds, check out End Zone, check out all the great New York Jet pages that are out there, including Jets World. This is a collaboration of all of us, all of us big-time Jet fans out there. And enjoy yourself. Have a great Sunday. Be safe out there. If you see me at the game on Sunday, please say hi, wave to me. I love talking Jets football and just kind of interacting with the community. So, again, thank you so much. JETS, 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 Jets. Let's get that victory Sunday, boys. Peace.